YouTube, we are back. It took a minute. It took a minute. I ain't gonna lie. This is the first clothing mod I've ever made for Project Zomboid. If you don't know what Project Zomboid is, it's in the title. Project. You can work on a project. The developers of Project Zomboid created a way that people like me and you can actually manipulate and change the game. And that is what is a mod. I mean, you could do clothes, food. My last video, I 3D modeled my dog into a stuffed animal and put him into the game. So in this journey that I'm in so far, I am learning how to make mods, and it is so much fun. Highly recommend it to you, especially if you like creating, like art, love learning new things. This is right up that alley. So now, this video, we have made my first clothing mod in Project Zomboid, and it was not easy. Subscribe. So let's start from the top. When making a mod, it's important to find a reference. I'm just looking through all of the mods that are coming out, and I'm like, man, where does Malik Childish fit into all of this? And I was like, ooh, something I don't think anyone's thought of is a cape. So when you type in just cape, there are not a lot of things that come up. And it's funny because makeshift clothing is actually a very well developed clothing mod. And Bianca's wardrobe, which this one is just absolutely insane. Giant library of clothing. Kudos to them. But there was one. Shout out to this creator, J6. He made a RuneScape equipment mod. I was like, thank you to the Zomboid gods, because now I have my reference. So I take the cape that he made and dropped it just straight into Blender. I started with a plane and then kind of just traced out what I assumed the neck part of the cape was. I then just pulled it back just to make it sort of look like a cape, if that makes sense. This is before I found out a very crucial part of making clothing in Project Zomboid. But before we get to that, I felt like I did a really good job modeling this cape out. This is only my 4th or 5th Blender project, so you know, I wouldn't say I'm an expert by any means, but I would definitely say I was pretty proud at how I made this cape look. Once again, shout out to the homie, because if I didn't have this cape to reference off of, I don't really know how I would do, but hey, you got to use your resources. It took me about 5 seconds to Google that there's a whole model that you can just drop into Blender and model the cape off of. So then I dropped my cape onto that model, and I was able to specifically find out what it would look like on a male version of the player character model. And this was a lot easier to be able to measure it up, see how it looks around the neck, and just make it look like it was a realistic style cape, even just how close it got to the player's back. So it was actually really interesting, because in this you could connect it to the different bones of the character model. I don't know anything about how it was made. I just know, shout out to the Project Zomboid Discord, because they had the download link for this. So it wasn't like it was like a secret model or anything. Like, this is a resource that's out there on multiple websites. Let's take it into Project Zomboid. Let's just see if we can drop it on the ground. Well, equipping it didn't do anything. Okay, what about dropping it on the ground? What is, and it's just the image from the RuneScape item. So, okay, that doesn't work. Dropping the item, put it on, nothing works. So we're off to a great start. So then we hop back in the game, we drop it, and there it is. It's on the ground in a weird flattened state without a skin. That's exactly what we wanted. So I knew there was still some more tweaking to do, but I was like, okay, let's just take a step further. Let's design a cape. The first cape I had to do was an orange cape. I had to make an orange cape. Come on now, y'all. It's the branding. I gotta keep the branding consistent. All I had to do was create the I forgot what they call it, like the UV. I'm new to Blender, okay? I don't know everything, but it basically gives you a template to draw on, and all you have to do is I just had to make sure all of those places on the template was drawn on. So made some tweaks, made some edits, and then hey, I put it on my character, and wow. Felt like we just took a huge leap, but we are still very far from a completed clothing mod. A few things I noticed while we were in here is like, it's like moving while the player is walking. I didn't really understand why that was a thing. So there was a lot of small details we had to fix here, but I really like the way the cape is looking. I feel like we are almost there. This is literally what I want in the cape design. I'm cooking right now. This stuff look clean. So in Blender, they have what's called weight painting. Don't know how to explain it. I don't really care to explain it. All I know is based off of the bones you assign it to, you can assign how weighted your object is to it. So I boot in, and there it is. It's just sitting on his shoulders. I was like, thank goodness. So now it is perfect. And even to the side, it's like waving a little bit, just like a cape. And that was a lot of where I let the weight go. I took the weight off right there. I don't know. But either way, hey, the cape model is basically done. This is the part where I found out Project Zomboid is not an easy game to mod. I knew I didn't want just 1 or 2 capes. I want a ton of capes. I add 2 different versions of a cape. I drop one on the ground. I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. Nice. I drop the other on the ground. It's the exact same cape. I'm not doing something right. Come to find out, you have to identify each cape separately with its own ID number. What did I tell you at the beginning? You can download a mod and find out how the heck they did anything in their mod. Shout out to this Argentina football t-shirts mod by, was it 1R4KYA? Blessings to you, because he had like 30 plus jerseys, I think, in his mod. It was very easy to find how he was able to make so many variations. I dropped one cape, I dropped the other. I did it. I have now made variations of my clothing. Let's go. This is called the Nina cape. I asked my fiance, what would you like on your cape? It's a flower that we recently just grew in our front yard. A ZZ, something like that. But we put a bunch of those on a cape. I was like, oh, this is perfect. So this is the Nina cape. So now, you know, I'm plotting, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I'm not satisfied with just making a bunch of different style capes. How can I level this up? How can I make this a unique experience? How can I do something that the childish community is known for? Ooh, I should give all the capes abilities. So the first ability I could think of was for the Nina cape. You know, my fiance, she reduces my stress, you know, I'd like to say on most days. She makes me happy. So I'm like, what if the cape reduces your stress and make you happier? So when you equip the Nina cape, it reduces your player's stress and boredom. And I even put in a debug that tells me what it was before and what it was after when the cape is applied. That way I could test it in real time. So while I'm testing that, one thing I noticed was when I was taking the cape off, the abilities were not going away. Oh yeah, you gotta code in when the cape is taken off, take off these abilities. Of course, I didn't code any of that. I just wanted to see if I could even do what I was even saying I could do. So I coded that in, and I even coded in, you know, text above it that says, hey, that stat was removed. And this is where I learned about mod data. So you can save player details, player stats, player information. I know, this was a lot for me to learn as well. Now you know a lot of the capes in this mod will have different buffs and effects and XP tied to it. So I'm not gonna show all the capes. I want it to be a little bit of surprise when you get into this mod. But I did hit up the homie Twisted. If you guys don't know Twisted, he is a fellow YouTuber that has been a part of this community for a while. And was like, hey, if you could have a cape on Project Zomboid with a special... I didn't tell him I was working on this at all. I just came out of the blue like, if you could have a cape. And he told me it'd be cool if it could add a trait for herbalist. At the time, none of the capes I had equipped a trait. So I had to figure out the coding of what it was like to equip a trait. So the Twisted cape adds the herbalist trait to your player. This was a huge rabbit hole to fall down because I was running into the issue if the player already had the trait and you took the cape off, it would take the trait with it. So I had to fix that into the code. So now if you have the trait before equipping it, nothing happens. So shout out to Twisted for the idea. Check out his YouTube. Whew. So, I mean, we've covered a lot. We've built the 3D model of the cape. We've learned how to design it. So past that, it's like, okay, what is next? We're not done. We're not done. I want this to be a very complete mod. I could have just uploaded it now and said, hey, here's some capes. They have abilities on them. Then I was like, dang, I'm missing some crucial things here. What if I wanted to make a cape? We had to add that in there. So I added a recipe to be able to craft each and every cape. I had to think about what, recipes and ingredients I wanted, which I'm leaving that out. Will players start with the knowledge on how to make a childish cape? No. You gotta find the book to teach you how to make it. At this point, I only have 3 variations going right now that I really wanted to test. I started out, okay, there's no recipes here. I make sure my character has the book. I hit read. I didn't think to change the settings to make him read faster or anything. So I'm just literally sitting here like, he reads it. Okay, let's go to the crafting menu. I click crafting and there it is. There's a new tab with all the capes that I said you would learn. This is perfect because now I can change anything. Ingredients it's gonna use. I can change the book titles. I can change the name of the capes. We now have made it to a point where it is very, very customizable. I had some hurdles to get to this point. But like I said, you can download this mod and see every file I used to get to this point. None of this is a secret. You can literally just copy and paste everything I did and just change the names of it. And one of the things that I really enjoy about this is just learning how far you can take things. One of the capes that I was able to make was one that keeps your player warm. It adds insulation to your body. And this actually wouldn't have been possible if I didn't go into the Project Zomboid Discord. Shout out to the homie Rodrigo. I couldn't figure out a way to change the player's temperature. And he had the idea of, what if you just change the clothes, like the clothes that are already equipped on the player? Okay, that's a great idea. So all I did was code in that if the player is wearing clothing, they equip this specific cape. I won't tell you which cape. It raises the insulation of all the clothing that the player is wearing. I was done with it. I spent way too long on that, learning that. Shout out to Rodrigo, because I don't know where I would have went if I didn't know that. Players' stats are very hard to change because there's a lot of things in the game that can affect the player's stats. So one of my favorite capes, I did an all red cape. When you equip it, it maxes out your player's strength. It doesn't matter if you have 2, it doesn't matter if you have 4, it's gonna max out your player's strength. And one of the other things I was thinking, I was like, man, if I'm wearing this cape, it better give me just some defense. You would have to choose either this cape or a backpack that's already in the game. I want to give my cape a little bit of a bonus over just the vanilla stuff, but not completely break the game. So I did want to find out a way if I could adjust the player's bite and scratch. So basically the player's defense. And I could. So, I'm picturing like Batman where he pulls the cape over to block hits and stuff. So now the cape also adds defense to your player. We still not done. The way the server is built now, people either are crafting things or hoarding things that they have found, across the server's life. So it was already mentioned, okay, Malik, when you add these capes into the server, you're going to have to turn loot back on. And I'm like, no, I'm not. You're going to have to find this stuff. You're going to have to find the books out. You're going to have to find the capes in some closet that hasn't been looted yet, or you're going to have to find it on a zombie. I won't even tell you guys how hard it was to find out how to do this. You can create zombie outfits. So it basically throws your custom zombie outfit into the generation of zombies, and there's a chance your zombie's outfit could end up in there. So to test this, I had to freaking fly around the map for like 20 minutes. This is before I found out something that I'm going to show you, but I finally found one. It was walking around the school. I was like, thank goodness. So now I found out a way that my capes can be found out in the wild. In the game, they have what's called a hordes manager. I thought it was just used for just spawning zombies, but you can actually just pick a specific zombie to spawn with the horde manager. So I just created a few outfits, and it was very easy to just click a bunch of times, and then you get a bunch of zombies wearing the cape. So now I know the outfit is kind of working. As you can see, the clothing just wasn't what I was trying to do. For those who care, whatever clothing you use from the vanilla game, you also have to ID that in your mod. Once again, for those who care, that might go over a lot of people's head. It sucked finding that out because all I was spawning these zombies with sweatpants and a t-shirt, and I couldn't figure out why. Now I have all the outfits using the mod. Okay, now I'm able to spawn. They're wearing shoes that I told them to wear. They're wearing the pants I told them to wear, the shirt I told them to wear, and the cape I told them to wear. So now I have to identify all the different variations of clothing, all the different variations of capes. So now it's random the type of zombie you can come across. They'll be wearing different types of outfits, and they'll have different chances of wearing the different capes. So to test this theory, I just made a giant circle and spawned in hundreds of zombies. They're all wearing the different capes, different shirts, different pants, different shoes. And I'm like, thank goodness. It's working. It's doing everything I need it to do. Where are you going? Where are you going? We're still not done. So for those who play the game Zomboid, when you highlight over an object, it will show you like a little message about what that object does. Create your own mod. You have to do this from scratch, which I didn't know until I was just randomly on the server. And I'm like, oh wait, I forgot you can add that. So a sneak peek of some of the capes that are in the mod. As I'm just scrolling through, you can see now it says what you get when you equipped the cape. And as you can see, there is a lot of them in there. I'm so hyped at how many variations I have that are all coded separately. If you made it this far, man, I just want to say Project Zomboid has been one of my favorite games that I've came across. It's by far just something that has opened my mind up to learning coding, learning 3D modeling, and building a community. And I invite those who come across this video, come on, join in, come into the server and play with your boy and play with some people around the community. So as we close out this mod, I'm testing it, it's working, everything is flawless at this point, guys. When I was opening the inventory of it, it still sounded like a book bag. Nah, we gotta change that. So all I did was go to YouTube and type in free fabric whip sound. I think that's what I typed in. It was exactly what I needed. It was what I pictured a cape would sound like if it like whipped into the wind. All I did was drop it into Audacity and just cut it right where I thought the sound ended. Found out where they were putting the sound. It's literally a folder just named sound in the mod. But now when I go to the cape and you equip the cape and you open it to put stuff in it, it makes like that cape whip sound, which I'm like, perfect. We are good. I had a lot of fun getting to this point. The link will be in the description for you to go check it out, download it, play it, and you can play it single player if you want to, but you can also join my server. All you gotta do is head into the Discord and we will get you all the server info for you to join and play with us. This is now my second mod for Project Zomboid. We have the Husky plush toy and we now have the cape. So thank you for watching. Shout out to the members that are going down the screen right now. Hey man, they the real ones, so I gotta shout them out. My next mod will be for Sims 4. If you enjoy art, coding, gaming, please subscribe, please come back, and I will catch you on the next one. Two.